let's go ahead and get this thing, this show, this class, this training, this everything that we're going to be getting on the road. So power pre-qualification, we've been talking about that all month long. We're going to break it down in a one class, one training session here in less than 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and share some slides here. So here we go. Let's go ahead and jump right in. The power of pre-qualification. Why is this class important? Well, for those of you that are having challenges when it comes time to getting more business from this particular source, which is basically that of listings, this class is going to help you put you in a position where you can capitalize, capture more listings. So instead of going on 10 listing appointments and coming back with 2 or 3 contracts, what I want you to do is I want you to go on 10 listing appointments and I want you to be able to come back with 7, and for that matter, preferably even 8 contracts. How are we going to do that? The way we're going to do that is we're going to break all of that down in today's training. All right. So power of pre-qualification. We want to remember that pre-qualifying is going to set us apart. And in that pre-qualifying, if we do have competition, it's going to make us look more professional. 95% of realtors, and probably even more than that, I'd venture to say even as much as 98%, don't do a version of pre-qualification. Now, remember, we're talking specifically about listings, pre-qualifying listings, getting more from the listings, but we're also going to talk a smidge in regards to when it comes time to buyers. As far as a buyer is concerned, have your lender pre-qualify every buyer from a financial standpoint, and you'll pre-qualify regarding their home and their motivation. The question stands, well, when do we get that seller pre-qualified? When do we extend the Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Let's get you over to a lender. Let's get you guys qualified. Let's go through that process. I want you to focus on number 1 is to go out, take the listing, secure the listing, get the signature, get everything situated on the listing side of things, and then, and only then, after you've secured the listing, you're going to now go out and you're going to send that client over to the lender. Why do I want you to do it this way? Because let's be honest, out of 10 clients that we end up sending to a lender, there's usually 3 or 4 that are ready to go. Awesome, kudos, let's get them going. But there's going to be another 3 or 4 of them that find themselves in a position where they're going to need some work. So 6, 7, 8 of the 10 are going to need some version of work. And then there's going to be 2 or 3 of them that's just, unfortunately, even if they have a home, you can't do anything. And that's going to happen sometimes. Well, Robert, why do we want to waste our time from that perspective? Here's why. Because when you go through, you secure a listing, you now have a legal commitment binding relationship with them. And in that little bit of we got to fix this, we got to fix that, we have to go pay this down. In that window, do they get hotter? Do they get more excited? Do they become a warmer, in a sense, lead, or do they get cold? A large percentage of the time they get cold. They just find themselves where, you know what, this is probably more trouble than I was expecting. And well, what about the other 2 or 3 that unfortunately you just can't do anything with? Well, that's just going to be the risk that you're going to want to take. But I'd rather you be in a position where you secure a listing, you take that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it takes to get them now officially qualified. Now you can continue to move forward. Okay, so that's the part and that's the direction that I want you to move forward with. Now, as far as the people that we're looking for, okay, who are we looking for? It's easy to sit here and say, look for the people that have to sell versus simply the people that want to sell. The have to sells, who are these people? These are the people that find themselves in a financial burden, and the relocation, the divorce, family is expanding. It's actually, they're downsizing, death, all of these different things, job relocation, people that need to sell. When there's a need versus a want, it allows more forgiveness when it comes time to whether it's pricing, the timing, the negotiations, whereas the want to sellers, not quite as much. Now, can we control that? No, we can't control it. What I'm trying to say is I want you to, when you get a have to seller, is do everything in your power to make sure you keep that relationship intact. With those that are the want to sellers, maybe not so much of the urgency, putting the pressure on them, all hands on deck. That could be a little bit of a nurturing process. And for that matter, sometimes, not always, the want to seller, who are those? Those are the, I'm waiting for the market to crash. I'm waiting for the interest rates. I'm wanting a pool. I'm wanting another bedroom. I'm wanting less square footage. These people that want to, they're the ones that have a tendency of sometimes getting cold feet, of just kind of like, you know what, it's a little bit more than I bargained for in terms of this entire process. Because let's be honest, is going through the transition in real estate from selling selling to buy. Is it easy? No, it isn't. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of preparing. It takes a lot of executing. A lot of the things have to end up falling in place. You have to have the dominoes in alignment. And when you have somebody that sits there and says, hey, Robert, I have to be in Florida, I have to be there by the beginning of the year and I have to report to my job. Well, there's going to be a lot more forgiveness when it comes time to, do you really want to take the risk on, the negotiations of trying to get another $5,000 or $10,000? So they're going to be a little bit more, in a sense, motivated. Okay, so that's the one thing that I'm trying to impress upon you regarding the have tos versus the want to. I'll open it up for questions here in just a little bit. What we want to do, that's the whole purpose of this class. I want you to spend more time pre-qualifying and less time building a relationship in order to, of course, you want to be able to build that quality of business. You want to be able to build the rapport from the pre-qualification. What I mean by that, when we're asking questions, it is going to be primarily to focus on two things. Number one, their motivation, them, what they want. Number two is any potential objections. The objections that we get, will you, take this commission? Will you do it in less time frame? Will you do these activities? Will you hold an open house every single day? Will you show it to every single last buyer that comes through? All of, in a sense, these things are sets of precedents of the type of relationship you're going to build with these people. Now, when you're building rapport, it's easier to build rapport based on them, their motivation, their wants, their desires, versus walking in and doing the cheesy, usual, oh my gosh, I love your carpet, I love the drapes, I love the what you did with the kitchen, I love the backyard. And then all of a sudden you get blindsided with, I didn't even do that. That's actually one of the things that I really don't care about the property. That reminds me a lot about my ex. So now what? So when you build the rapport based on them, their motivation, their desire, and sometimes it may not be a positive thing, but it's going to be about accomplishing with what they want. What would that be an example of? Yeah, it's not fun, right? How about job loss? That's not fun. But when you find yourself in these negative type of situations, it gives you the opportunity to impress upon with what it is that they want, okay, versus what I'm trying to, versus me trying to get another listing and, or for that matter, just another commission. Let me open it up to the audience. If you have any questions, I'm going to encourage you, feel free. You don't have to necessarily talk on the mic. You're welcome to type in your question, but is there any questions that anybody wants to vocalize? If you do, feel free to type them in. We'll address them as we continue. Now, you want to keep your pre-qualifying script with you everywhere, because when you set an appointment, you want to be at the ready, and you never know when you're going to set that appointment. You have no clue. Okay, with my team, we have pretty robust Zillow account every single day. We're getting 3, 5, 7, 8 calls a day, and there's going to be some where they're going to say, yeah, I need to sell my house in order to buy the next one. So I want you to be at the ready, whether that is a copy, a paper copy in the office, the car, at home, or simply putting it on your phone, having it in Google Docs, having it accessible so that when you do get the call, you could just simply scroll over, pull up your pre-qual and be able to say, Mr. or Mrs. potential online person, are you needing to sell a home in order to buy this home? Well, as a matter of fact, I am, Robert. I do. I was thinking I could probably find the house first before I sell this home. That's possibly an option. I am curious. So, were you going to be paying cash or will you be doing financing? Oh no, I don't really have that kind of cash. I figured I could use the money for my home. Okay, have you ever gone through the process of selling and buying? No, I haven't. I just figured I'd buy the house first and then that way I could sell my home. Well, yeah, that's definitely an option. What we want to do is we want to look at the entire package. And it is important that we look at the entire process. Then we can jump into the pre-qualifying script. Where is it that you're wanting to go to? Wired about this property here. How soon are you wanting to be there? Are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home? When we do sell your home, how much would you like to list your home for? What's the price you wouldn't want to go below? You want to be able to go through these questions. The agents that I coach, the agents on my team, the people that are the most masterful in this industry are the people that ask questions between the questions. The questions between the questions is what lengthens, and it gets you more in depth with what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And again, if you're needing or wanting scripts, if you guys want this, feel free, just send me a DM, preferably via Instagram, and we'll get you the scripts, okay, regarding everything that I'm talking about. Moving on. The rules on the following, what we want to have is we want to pre-qualify 100% of our prospects. Okay, no exceptions. We don't want to not pre-qualify these people. 100% of the questions. We don't want to cut short. We don't want to have any shortcuts. We don't want to be in an assumptive manner. They didn't tell us anything about another agent, so I don't think they're interviewing another agent. I know that they mentioned they were wanting around $700,000 for their home, so I think that that's the price that they're wanting to list it at. All of these things. We don't want to make any exceptions. We want to make them a standard. Another rule is we use 100% of the pre-qualifying questions, absolutely no exceptions. If anything, it's going to be from an assumptive standpoint. There might be a couple of minor tweaks. When you're calling a for sale by owner, we want to use common sense. You're not going to ask the question, are you thinking about selling this home yourself? Duh. Right? So, or we might have the answer to the question. Okay. They told us that they're making the move over to Miami, Florida. Ask it again. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I just want to confirm that your ultimate move is to go over to Miami, Florida. Is that correct? Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. Okay, is there anywhere in specific in Miami that you're wanting to get to? Okay, got it. So you're looking at closer to Hialeah. Okay, so then that's way different than going to South Beach or to Miami Beach. So it gives you the opportunity to have a little bit of that credibility. If you have staff, if you have an assistant, or heck, I even encourage you, if you're close buddies with another agent, have them do the pre-qualification versus doing it yourself. Why do we do that? Why have I done that? Because it takes away the emotion. It takes away the emotion of when somebody, you ask a question, they respond to the question, and you're like, yeah, I don't really like that answer. It gives you the factual information. I have a staff member that pre-qualifies. I get the answers. I can take a look at it. It now gives me the opportunity to now further ask questions between the questions. What does that look like? I give the owner a call. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, hey, it's Robert. I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you so much for answering those questions earlier with my assistant. I just want to provide a little bit of clarity. I know that you had mentioned that your goal is to get out to Florida. You mentioned to Miami. Where exactly is it that you're wanting to get to Miami? Hialeah. Perfect. Okay, good. Now, I know you said by the end of the year is when you're wanting to get there. But if we were to sell your home in the next 30 days, would that be a pro or would that be a con? It would be a pro. Awesome. Okay, good. Now, is there such a thing as too late? Okay, got it. So you really have to be there by the end of the year. So it gives us, again, the opportunity to further ask questions and ask in more clarity and in more depthness. Another reason is that pre-qualifying allows us to set the standards for who we want as clients. I want you to establish what are those minimum standards. I ask this question all the time with basically agents that I coach, agents that I do trainings with. You know, how many of you would take a 1% listing? And everybody wants to do the right answer and they go, oh, not me. I won't do that. And then I follow that up with, well, what if it's a $20 million listing? Would you do it then? Well, wait a minute. That's a little bit different, Robert. Yeah, exactly. So what are your minimum standards? Is it a percentage? Is it a dollar amount? Is there a distance? Is there an amount of time frame you would want to invest in this? These are all things you're going to want to identify as to what those minimum standards are. When you have minimum standards, it puts you in a position where you don't tolerate. Okay? You don't tolerate dealing with certain things, certain situations. There are going to be some times when possible, I want you to do your pre-qualifying while you're setting an appointment. I have one rule with one source. If it isn't expired, you're going through, you're prospecting and you're calling expireds, you need to pre-qualify right then and there, 0 exceptions. The reason for that, you're calling expireds, you're competing with 25, 50, 100, in some cases as many as 250 realtors. You celebrate, you set an appointment. Awesome. I'm going to be seeing them later today at 5 o'clock. Let me go do my research and let me give them a call back. Good luck. Okay. You give them a call back 1, 2, 3 o'clock. They're just like, I don't even remember who you were. We set an appointment at 8:15. I don't even remember who you are. So it gives you the opportunity to gather the information in advance. And I've been on some appointments where I ask them, how many agents are you looking to interview? And they'll say, as an example, 3. Cool. Awesome. Besides the 3 realtors, are you planning to interview more than those realtors for the job of selling your home? Nope, absolutely not. Then I get there and they go, okay, well, we already interviewed 6 realtors and we got 5 more to go. Interesting. I thought you were only interviewing 3 realtors. Believe it or not, this happened to me in Riverside, California about 3 years ago. Person said they're not looking to waste their time with interviews and they only are going to interview 3 people. Kid you not, the person ended up interviewing over 25 agents. It happens. Okay. So it gives us the opportunity to pre-qualify, get the information on the spot. Everyone else, for the most part, you can kind of allow a little bit of a buffer. I like to use a 48-hour rule. The 48-hour rule is you want to pre-qualify them 48 hours in advance. If it's a Friday appointment, qualify them on Wednesday. Okay. Why? Because it gives you the opportunity to peacefully go through, gather your information, do your CMA, gather a pre-listing packet, get the pre-listing packet out to them. And then that way, when you do call back and confirm, I like to use a 12-hour window from that appointment. If it's a Friday, for example, 5 p.m. appointment, I'm going to call them Friday AM. That's within that 12-hour window. Why do I do that? Because I've done it before where a Friday 5 o'clock appointment, I call on, for example, Thursday at 2 o'clock and they go, yeah, of course. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And next thing you know, I show up Friday right on the dot. I'm there on the door at 4:55, 4:57, 4:58, knocking on the door. And I'm like, where are they at? Right? Send them a text. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm here at your door for a 5 o'clock appointment. No answer. Send another text, 5:05. Hey, 5:05. I'm here for a 5 o'clock appointment. I've been waiting here. Where are you guys at? No answer. And then finally, 3 hours later, oh my gosh, Robert, I completely forgot. We went to dinner. We didn't. I completely forgot, to be honest with you. And there you go. Okay, so you want to be in a position where you can pre-qualify as quickly as you can. When practicing and role playing, the pre-qualifying question leads to more confidence. You want to continue to practice and practice and practice and practice. I ask of my agents all the time, whether I'm coaching them or they're on my team, you have to be able to practice, because that's what's going to build the confidence. Get better results, gets you more appointments, gets you stronger mindset, and gets you more contracts signed. The agents that unfortunately shoot from the hip, don't practice their scripts, they don't get, in a sense, better from that perspective, they just go adrift. Now, I'm not saying you can't be successful. There are very successful agents, but it does stunt your growth. It does put you in a position, because we get paid for the language of sales. We get paid for our ability to communicate. And the better you are when it comes time to being able to communicate, the better the results are. So why not practice? If I am a baseball player, which I was at one point in time, unfortunately not good enough, but if I was a baseball player and I was striking out and striking out and striking out, should I just kind of wait for maybe one day? Hopefully it'll all come together and I'll just maybe start to hit better. I got to get in the batting cage and I got to practice and I got to practice and I got to practice. And now I'm hoping that I strike out less and maybe hit more. And then eventually, because I practice enough, oh, look at that, there's a home run. That's what happens with us in our industry. But what ends up happening with most realtors, 95, 97, 98%, nah, I'm good. I don't do that. That's not my style. All right, so let me keep plugging away. I want to make this get to the finish line. This is usually about 40, 45 minutes, but we'll get it squeezed in. Pre-qualifying will allow you to have more energy while going on presentations. What do I mean by that? When I first started, I'd go on 10 listing appointments, come back with 2 contracts. And when I'm going on a lot of listing appointments, I get frustrated. I get annoyed if I'm not getting them signed. And I'm going out there and I'm like, going to be another seller that's going to tell us no, that's going to tell me I'm thinking about it. I go into the presentation and it's almost this, I knew it. But when you're going on 10 appointments and you're coming back with 7, 8, and even in some cases 9 contracts, my best listing appointment to listing taken ratio is 92%. Just imagine how excited you are, because it now puts you in a position of, if you have a listing appointment, it's almost a guaranteed contract. You're going to be way different. You're going to have a better approach, better presentation when you know that you're going to be in a favorable position to get a contract signed. Now, what happens to real estate agents who do not pre-qualify their appointments? Very common. They spend a lot of time frustrated, which is what I just mentioned. It's the poor me. Oh my gosh, I suck. This is what ends up happening. Or they get desperate. They take overpriced listings and take listings for shorter periods of time. Man, I haven't taken a listing in like 5 months. I need to get a listing. Well, sure, we'll give you the listing, Robert, but will you do it for $1 million? Yeah, of course, absolutely. But the listing's only worth 700,000 or 800,000. And you sit there, you get on your hands and you get on your knees and you pray and you cross your fingers and you go, man, I'm hoping this property sells. Nope. Good luck. More frustration. Again, the agents that don't pre-qualify, they work too many non-income producing hours. And I see this. This is probably the saddest thing in our industry, when we have agents that are away from their family for 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and they're still scraping the bottom of the barrel. They're still in a position where they're just above poverty, but yet they're away from their family for 60, 70 hours a week because they're doing who knows what. So those things are things that I want you to pay attention to. They also significantly reduce their hourly rate of pay. The example that I just gave you, an agent that does 6, 7, or 8 deals ends up making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, almost made $100,000, almost made 6 figures. Right. But you also put in 65, 70 hours a week. You worked almost every Saturday. You worked almost every Sunday. Well, now you're probably making about $15 an hour at that point because of the amount of time, energy, and effort you're putting into it. Last but not least, they usually do not prospect and do not have many appointments. Does it sound like you? This helps a lot when you're pre-qualifying. It gives you better results. You go to the gym after 1 week and you lose 3 pounds. You're like, heck yeah, I want to do that again. But if you go to the gym and you don't lose any weight, and if in some cases you actually gain weight, probably just a little bit more frustrated. All right, so let's talk about the opposite side. What happens to the agents that do pre-qualify their appointments? The agents that do pre-qualify their appointments, they focus on activities that lead to more income. Okay, they focus on, because again, how do I get more? How do I get more business? They're able to choose the clients that they want to work with. Again, I'll sit there and I'll think about it and say, no, I'm okay. You know, it's nice. I'll take a listing, I'll take a buyer, but you know what? No, it's too far. Not going to make enough money. I'd rather put my energy, effort, focus in something else. So it gives you that opportunity. You also have less client problems. Working with high maintenance sellers or buyers is absolute frustrating, which can be in a sense a blessing in disguise, because part of what I'm doing, where I'm at, what I'm speaking to you from this perspective, I'm on Zoom opening up MIT Millionaires in Training, is because about 15 years ago, I made the decision. I was frustrated with the clients that I was working with, going on vacation, being in a position where I'm doing more. I'm sure some of you guys can relate, doing more working than vacationing on vacation. Didn't like that. So it gives you the opportunity to be a little bit more selective. There's nothing that drains your energy and motivation faster than going on unqualified appointments. You go on these appointments and it's almost this, again, I guess, sure, fine, think about it. Will you let me know whenever you're ready to make that decision? We don't get the results. We should be listing about 75% of the people we make presentation to. Okay, about 75%. We want to pre-qualify intensely to increase that percentage. So you go on 4 listing appointments, you should come back with 3 contracts. You go on 10 listing appointments, you should come back with at least 7. Are you? And if you're not, I'm going to ask of you, and I'm going to continue to encourage you. We still have half of the rest of the month breaking down. If you guys aren't attending the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Scripts Summit, which is 7:30, 8 o'clock on Pacific Standard, I'm going to encourage you to come join us, because right there, we're breaking down those scripts. Moving on, when you're pre-qualifying, a couple more slides. If the client's answers are vague or unclear, don't be afraid to ask additional questions to determine their motivation. This is the part that I talk about where the question between the questions is for sure that mastery. That when you start asking better, stronger questions, you get better results, you're going to get better answers. It gives you the opportunity to, again, just be able to present better and stronger. The other thing, how many of you want the answers to the test? Pre-qualifying is going to draw out those objections in advance, okay? Would you want to know if they're going to interview other realtors? Would you want to know that they only want to sign a contract for 3 months? Would you want to know if they're asking for a reduced commission? All of these under expectations and or standards. I want you to remember that knowledge is power. So the more knowledge you have, the more information you have, the better presenter you will be. Now, it's okay to lose a prospect or an appointment because of the pre-qualifying. I want you to be okay with that. I know sometimes it's hard. You go 2-3 months and you haven't had a deal, you haven't had an appointment, and all of a sudden, well, Robert's telling us, if we lose the appointment or the prospect, that to be okay with it. How and why? Well, because as you go through, you're going to identify some of these people are not as motivated, they're not as realistic, they're going to be time wasters, and there's nothing more frustrating, especially when you take a listing and assist there for 3, 4, 5 months, and you've gone through all the open houses, you've knocked on doors, you've distributed flyers, you've done all this other stuff. The client keeps asking what's going on, and then it ends up expiring. How fun is that? How much money did you make on that? So it puts you in a position to no longer waste your time on an appointment, and for that matter, waste any more energy on an unqualified appointment. If you guys want the scripts, again, I'm going to encourage you, feel free to go ahead and ask of those through Instagram, my DM, or through DM. My handle again is the Robert Villanueva. Very simple. Okay, so go ahead and send them there, and we'll go ahead and have my staff to get those over to you guys.